Alright, so now let's take a look at the Multicannon. It's a grade 5 gibbled Multicannon 3C variety. You can see the changes that I have from the Overcharge weapon mod that I did under the old engineering system. The big one obviously is the DPS, up 42%. Damage 42%. You can see the rest of the specs right there. So I had put the corrosive shell on both of the multi-cannons. That was before I realized that corrosive doesn't stack. So you only need corrosive on one of your weapons, unless they're going to change that, which I haven't heard. So I'm probably not going to do corrosive on this guy, because I have corrosive on the other large multi-cannon on this ship. So let's check Overcharge weapon for the new modification system. Multi-cannons. I don't remember which one I was looking at now. I think it was this one. Let's convert it. Alright. Overcharged. Okay. So let's... Ooh. Looks like I need some mats for this. So, off I go once again to get MEF and conductive polymers so I can do this. Be back in 10 minutes. Well, this is the first one where I'm going to have to just make believe, because the mat requirements for this upgrade, I don't have them, and I'm not going to be able to get them. So we're looking for the overcharged mod, and I have one MEF, so I could do one of these, but the missions at the nearby station that gave MEF as a reward were all wing missions where I had to deliver 2,300 tons of whatever, which would be like 10 trips or ish in my Python. So I'm not going to do that, and that would give me 5, I think it was, MEF, and the trade ratio to get MEF was ridiculous, so I didn't even have the lower level or enough of the higher level mats to trade for it to get enough MEF to do it. So not going to be able to do this one, but if I was to do it, you can see what the results would be. Up to 55% DPS, whereas I was at 42% before, so that's better. Damage 55%, I was at 42%, so that's much better. So I'd probably do this if I had the mats. That's obviously a pretty big difference. So this would be something I do. Now the experimental, these are kind of weak. I looked through them, and you can see there's one for mass. Here's oversized. This was one of the ones I was looking at. Power draw, integrity, thermal shock, and cinder. Those are good for PvP, not so much for PvE. Autoloader's useful. Smart rounds not so useful. Corrosive, I have that on the other multi-cannon that I have, so there's no reason to put a second one on because it doesn't stack. Emissive doesn't have any use for me. Multi-servos. So multi-servos with the increased DPS and rate of fire. But if you look at the increase here, 3%. I'm at 6.7 right now. So that doesn't really do anything. And at 3% for that, that's kind of a waste of mats, in my opinion. Oversized, same thing, 3%. I'm at 4.2 for damage right now. So, again, that's not really worth... I mean, I've got the mats right now, but if you had to go out and find them... Whoops, sorry. If you had to go out and find them for 3% increase, no, wouldn't do that. The only other mod or experimental that might be useful is autoloader. I mean... okay, so it says reloads when firing, so one of my multi-cannons would keep going while the other one was reloading. I don't know, it's not hard to switch to the beam lasers for a few seconds while you give the multi-cannons time to reload, so that's also kind of a waste. So these are all kind of terrible, in my opinion, when you've already got one with corrosive. and you're not talking about PvP where you can use these thermal and incendiaries, because the AI really doesn't experience a big. I've never seen an AI like overheat. So, not saying they don't, just saying I haven't seen it. So these are all kind of suck anyway. If I was forced into saying, hey, pick one, I'd probably do the oversized. A little tiny bump there, DPS and damage. So that's it for the multi-cannons. Again, the base mod, well worth it. Experimentals, if you've got one that already has corrosive and you don't PvP, the rest of them seem to be a waste of time for me.